Frieren stares into the campfire, lost in thought as she recalls the time Eisen was too frightened to face a dragon. Himmel joins in, sharing Eisen's sentiments to boost morale, and Eisen admits that their earlier discussions helped him feel less tense about their impending encounter with the dragon. Meanwhile, Fern is relieved that her party managed to capture Astilla, but Ubel and her male companion Land warn her that the toughest challenges are still ahead, with Ubel eager for a chance to fight other mages. The next morning, Frieren and her party convene to discuss the insights they gained from their encounter with the Stilla. Although Kana and Lawine express uncertainty about how they'll manage to catch one, Frieren reminds them of a binding spell she developed, a unique form of folk magic. Kana recalls seeing Frieren use this spell against the bird-like monster that attacked her in episode 18. However, Frieren cautions that it might not be effective this time, as the Stilla can sense their presence from a short distance and the spell has a limited range. With a plan in place, Lawine voices her concerns, deeming it risky because it may lead them into conflict with other teams. In a nearby cave, Land suggests that hiding until the test concludes might be their best option, but Ubel disagrees, pointing out that they're out of water. Land proposes they venture to a nearby lake to refill their supplies and then return to the cave. During their trip, the group discusses the potential dangers they might encounter at the lake, weighing the risks against their need for water. Ultimately, Land decides to abandon the idea of going to the lake, much to Ubel's disappointment. Instead, he suggests they might find a pond nearby to gather water. Suddenly, Fern's party is ambushed by Werbel, who demands that they leave their Stilla behind. A bright beam of light catches everyone's attention, emanating from the lake, where Lawine, using her powers, freezes the water, much to the discontent of everyone involved. While Frieren and her party continue with their plan, Werbel chooses to press on with his assault against Fern's group. Meanwhile, Danken and his party observe the chaos unfolding around them. He notes that while some teams are making wise decisions, they all seem to lack proper experience. Nevertheless, he finds merit in Frieren's strategy and asserts that his team must unravel it if they hope to succeed in the test. Danken's team soon stumbles upon the remains of another party, hanging lifelessly from a tree. Laufen asks if they can remove the bodies, but Danken advises against it. He explains that the Geisel, the bird-like creatures that Frieren previously defeated, have layered the fallen party's bodies with detection magic, making it a terrible idea to disturb them. He suggests they leave the bodies be to avoid attracting conflict. Laufen expresses frustration over the association, hosting a test in an area filled with dangerous beasts like the Geisel. Danken's male teammate counters that the purpose is to weed out the weak and unqualified. Danken finds this belief outdated and rants about why he feels that way, arguing for a more modern approach to training. After some time, they stumble upon a watering hole. Danken senses mana in the water and deduces that Astilla will likely avoid this spot. Laufen suggests there might be another watering hole nearby that doesn't contain mana, and Danken theorizes that's where Frieren's party will be. He decides that his team should rest at their current location for the time being. Meanwhile, Frieren, Lawine, and Kana arrive at a mana-free watering hole. Kana informs Frieren that she infused every watering hole with bits of mana that she could find along the way. Frieren plans to use this location to catch Astilla. After waiting all day, she successfully captures one using her folk magic, and Lawine and Khan rush over to celebrate her achievement. However, Frieren suddenly senses a presence nearby and quickly suggests they should flee before they're discovered. Just as they prepare to escape, Lauren arrives, ready to confront them. Elsewhere, the battle between Fern's and Werbel's teams rages on. Werbel's female teammate analyzes Fern's fighting style, relaying critical information about Werbel's past encounters with the remnants of the Demon King's forces. She warns Fern that Ubel stands no chance of winning, with Fern firmly believing otherwise, determined to prove her wrong. Ubel and Werbel locked in a fierce battle. Meanwhile, Fern overpowers Wirbel's female comrade, Era, using her magic to defeat her. Wirbel employs a binding spell on Ubel, demanding she hand over her group's stilla. When he removes the spell, Ubel questions why he didn't take the stilla from her while she was immobilized. Wirbel remains silent. Seizing the opportunity, Ubel throws the stilla's cage into the air and launches an attack against Wirbel. As Wirbel attempts to cast his spell again, he sustains a minor wound. Ubel quickly learns the range of Wirbel's spell, prompting Wirbel to taunt her, suggesting she should have aimed for his neck instead of his eyes. Just as he prepares to deliver a fatal blow, Ubel inquires about his experiences with murder and death. Wirbel briefly mentions the goals and responsibilities of the Northern Magic Corps to Ubel. However, before he can kill her, Fern intervenes, surprising Wirbel with her arrival. He assumes Fern helped Ubel capture the stilla and expresses shock that she managed to defeat Era. Ubel elaborates on how they successfully caught the stilla, and Fern confirms her victory over Era. Realizing he has failed the test, Wirbel spares Ubel and retreats. Once he is gone, Ubel comes to the unsettling realization that Fern had fabricated the story about Era's defeat. Fern suggests they assist Land, but Ubel insists she should focus on her own safety. Meanwhile, we shift to Land, who is engaged in battle with Wirbel's ally, Sharf. Confident of his impending victory, Sharf underestimates Land, who uses his illusion magic to defeat him. Wirbel soon discovers Era lying unconscious and can't believe he was deceived by Fern's tricks. He wakes Era and confronts her about her loss to Fern, then suggests they search for Sharf. With Era on his back, they set out and find Sharf incapacitated on the ground. Sharf informs Wirbel that he can't move, prompting Wirbel to use his magic to lift him into the air. As they walk, Wirbel expresses his fears about failing the test. Era questions his motivations, reminding him of the time he saved her village. Wirbel clarifies that he didn't do it out of kindness but rather for ulterior motives, revealing a promise he made to a girl he loved back in his hometown: to slay as many demons as he could. Suddenly, Era spots a stilla perched in a tree and informs Wirbel. He swiftly employs his binding magic to capture it. Meanwhile, the battle between Lawain, Frieren, Kana, and Laufen rages on. Denken watches from a distance, worried that Laufen's magic may not be effective against Frieren's group now that they are aware of it. Laufen takes the opportunity to steal the stilla from Frieren. We then cut to Genau and the second test's proctor, Sense, who discuss the competition's intensity and the remaining participants. Denken approaches Frieren, prompting her to ask him several questions about Laufen's magic, his plans for the stilla, and how he is aware of her legacy. Richter expresses his intention to eliminate either Lawain or Kana to prevent Frieren's party from succeeding. Denken orders him not to, surprising Richter, who thought Denken was a heartless mage due to his past. Denken clarifies that while he is indeed merciless, he finds the idea of killing someone for the title of first-class mage to be absurd, a sentiment that Frieren agrees with. Richter elaborates on the value of the first-class mage title, detailing the significance of Serie, the Magic Association's great mage and founder. He explains her goals and the rewards she plans to offer those who achieve this esteemed title, stating that Serie is a living grimoire who knows every spell in human history and is the closest mage to attaining goddess-like power. After sharing this story, Richter casts a spell to prevent Lawain and Kana from assisting Frieren. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for upcoming episodes and more anime recaps.